We're all familiar with the benefits of a regular workout routine, but for too many, the idea of fitting in exercise into a busy schedule can seem problematic. Well, a new study out of McMaster University may have the answer to this problem. The study's findings suggest that 1 minute of strenuous exercise is comparable in its physiological effects to 45 minutes of more moderate exercise. And who can afford 1 minute for their physical well-being? For a closer look at this study, we're joined by CBC medical contributor Dr. Peter Lynn. We've heard similar studies sort of touting the benefits of high-intensity workouts, HIIT, as it's known. What is the new information coming out of this study?
Yeah, we always want to be lazier, right? Do it in a shorter amount of time. And so this one is the shortest amount of time ever. It's only a burst of 20 seconds, and you do 3 bursts. So therefore, there's only 60 seconds worth of the intensive stuff. Now, it's a bit of a lie in the sense that it's only 1 minute because you still need the warm-up, you still need the cool-down, you still need to ride in between. So they were doing it on a bike. So you do 20 seconds of intensity, and then you do about 1.5 minutes where you're sort of medium intensity, and then you do another 20 and another 20. So total, it's about 10 minutes that they're talking about. But what they were doing is they're saying 10 minutes versus like 50 minutes, you know, is there a difference? That's what they were looking at in terms of this new research.
Right, and what's the difference then?
Yeah, so what they did was they took some sort of couch potatoes, which is easier to find in men. So mainly it's a men's study. Okay, so they found some folks that are sedentary. We like to call them sedentary.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, exactly. I can get away with it because I'm one of those men. So, so basically what they did was one group did nothing, and then one group had this, 10-minute thing, and the other group had the 50-minute thing. And after 12 weeks of doing this, and they're only doing it 3 times a week, so it's not even every single day, what they found that the results between the 10-minute and the 50-minute was about the same in terms of their heart benefit, their breathing benefit, in terms of their control of sugar, and they took biopsies of their muscles even, okay? And they looked at them and saw what is happening in the muscle. And they were looking for mitochondria. So mitochondria are the power stations inside your cell. And they noticed in both groups, the mitochondria were up. So in other words, you have more power stations, they burn more calories, your muscles are stronger, and so on and so forth. And so you had the same effect pretty much in the 2 weeks. Now, in other studies, what they've done is they've seen that if you do the longer intensive one, then you basically lose more weight. But then in terms of all the other stuff, they were about the same.
Interesting. And I was going to ask that in terms of that 10-minute timeline. You are expected, say you're doing plyometrics, you should really like jog on the spot or something.
Exactly. So in between,
bursts,
you're still doing it, and then you're bursting up. So it's not exactly 1 minute. It's really 10 minutes.
10 minutes is still not too shabby. But how particularly hard is it to get to that high intensity level?
Yeah. So in this situation, they actually had a bike, so they can control how intensive they were making the people ride. But for you and I, like for me, for example, the idea is just get to whatever your intensity is. Now, my high intensity may be like your low intensity, okay? So in other words, I can just go to my high intensity, and the hope is that over a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, my intensity will go up. So it's a very easy way to nudge people into exercise, as opposed to this, you got to commit an hour and things like that. It's very attractive this way.
So who should not be doing this type of exercise?
Oh, that's a good point. So they mentioned in the study that if you have diseases, like let's say diseases of your heart, where your circulation isn't so good, then if I burst you, now I'm going to cause lack of circulation and things like that. Your heart will be strained. If you have bad arthritis, probably not a good idea as well. If you have bad lung disease and things like that. So check with your doctor whether this spurting thing is a good idea or not. But the thought is you could probably do it in the pool, you can probably do it on a bike, you can probably do it running. So all sorts of different types of exercise.
I was going to ask that because I do know in reading this study, they were saying you could do stairs, you could swim, like you could do different things, but still the timeline stays the same, that, capacity. Is there any idea, though, why this works so well?
Yeah, nobody has a clue, but here's the thought. The thought is if you look at animals, right, they're never running on a treadmill to stay fit, right? They just burst. So if you think about animals, they run because they are being chased and things like that. So perhaps our body was built for these little bursts. So therefore, that's why our sugar comes out right away so that you can burn it off. And so if you start bursting in the same way, then we're actually matching up with how our body is built. Now, ultimately, what we want to do is 2 things, right? We want to do the bursts, but we want to do it longer, and that will burn off the calories and get off the bellies and things like that. And maybe we can decrease heart disease and those types of things. So I think in the end, it'll be a nice blend of the 2. So some bursts as well as a little bit longer to burn off those calories.
So some may wonder, are there any benefits then to longer workouts with this new study?
Yes, definitely it seems not, but I think the longer workouts is where you're burning extra fat. I think when you kick into that 20-minute mark, you will be burning more fat. than these systems. Now remember, this was only 12 weeks, but not bad. And I think what it does is it gets us interested in exercise. 10 minutes is okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
And then once you start exercising, you kind of get hooked on exercise and you miss it when you don't do it, and perhaps people feel that exercise high.
Yeah.
And so we get them hooked on that as opposed to food and all these other things that may not be so good for you.
In the time of this interview, we could have done, what, 4 workouts?
We're perfectly healthy now, but I use my mouth. I don't know.
We will leave it there, Dr. Lin. Thank you.
Thanks, Asha.
CBC medical contributor, Dr. Peter Lin.